Hi, I'm Kimberly Theodore with Polidora Boutique of the Unique. And this is my first video, and I'm a little nervous, so you can probably hear it in my voice, but I'm here. And one of the things that I promised myself was that I would at least start with video 1 with clean hands. But as you can see, I don't think I'm ever going to have clean hands again in my entire life since I have reunited with the world of art. And I'm very happy about that. But anyway, I'm so glad that you stopped by. I really am. I think we need to have some fun. And I think I'll get better at this as time goes by. But what I really need from you guys is to simply give me a thumbs up when the video is over. And please leave comments, good, bad, whatever. I'm really looking for your feedback. And what is important to me is that I give you what you want. It's not about me, although I am sharing a piece of me every time I make a video. I really want to provide you with what you are looking for. So don't be afraid to give me a critique. I will welcome each and every one of them joyfully. So, I'm going to show you something. You probably recognize, I hope you can see that. You probably recognize this painting. And I have another one here. This one. These were a pair that I had posted online on Facebook. And I said it was a dry run for something I was going to talk about in my first video. And so here are the finished pieces, which I chose to frame in black and white. And I just wanted to give you a little reminder of what this one's going to be all about. So, you won't see any mixing of paints on my YouTubes, although I welcome any questions that you may have about my formula or anything that I've done. But having said that, I would like to introduce you to something fairly new. Well, actually, it's ancient. It's not new. But the art supply companies have found a way to re-market them. And so I thought I would introduce you to gouache paints. Now, this is how they come from Arteza anyway, or Arteza, however you want to say it. I've been using Arteza for so long now that I know them to be a very high quality company. And so when I saw them offer the gouache paints, I thought, well, you know, I'd like to try those and see if I can do acrylic pour painting with them and see how they behave. So that's what I did. I actually received 2 trays like this, but I've used up 10 of the colors, which I have mixed here with me today. A short explanation on what gouache paints are is they have the pigmentation of acrylics while having the body or the consistency of a watercolor. So in essence, they're a deeper pigmented watercolor. And those that do a lot of mixed media probably already know that when they're working with watercolors, if they mix in a few gouache colors, they're going to get more vibrancy. So that's what they are. So, I'm sorry about the delay there. If you hear some funny noise in the background, I have my two puppies in here with me, and they are chewing on a very large bone. So you might be hearing that in the background. But this is how they come. And what I did was I squeezed them out into cups. Actually, I squeezed them out into larger cups in order to mix them to the consistency that I wanted. And then I save all my little bottles of paint, like from DecoArt, Color Shift colors, or whatever. Could be any brand. DecoArt, Apple Barrel, Crafter's Paint, whatever. I washed these out and I saved them so that I can use them for projects like this. So I can tell you that when I mixed these, I had to use something that I didn't think I'd ever have a use for, and that was something made by Golden, and it's called Soft Body Medium. And the reason I had to use a soft body medium to mix these colors is because if I just used Floetrol with the paint, they would be too fluid. So I had to give them some body back once I started adding things like Floetrol and trying to expand the color. I wanted the right consistency, plus I wanted more of what I got in the tube. So that's what I had to use. So each one of these colors has about 10% of GAC 800, which is something that I use to prevent crazing and cracking on thick paints. And I use about 1-to-1 paint to Floetrol. And then I added the soft body medium and mixed that up and kept adding Floetrol until I got the consistency that I wanted to most mimic fluid acrylics. So that's how I ended up with that. Now these are the paints I'm going to use today. They're all ready to go except for silicone. I use Spot On Treadmill Belt Lubricant or 100% silicone in my paints that I want to sell. And I usually put it in about 1 drop per ounce of paint. So I'm thinking I have about 2 ounces of paint here in each cup. So I'm going to give each one of them 2 drops. That one might have gotten 3, but it's not critical. And unlike others, I include my black and white when adding silicone. I'm only going to mix these 3 times to get the silicone in. Any more than that will reduce the size of your cells. Any less than that, and you might have an oily blob on your surface of your painting. And if that happens, it may dry funny. So I'm almost done mixing the silicone in to each one of these. And I thought that because I like the black dry one run better than I did the white one, I thought we'd do a black one today. So here's my, this is my, here's my canvas. It's prepared. I taped the back with painter's tape or whatever you can get your hands on. This part is not critical. Taping for other things like using alcohol inks, that is critical, and I use something different for that. But for the back of my canvases, I use just about anything I have around. So I also sprayed last night. I prepared this canvas, and what I did was I taped it up, I put in my push pins, and then I sprayed the back of it with water, with a spray bottle. This is distilled water that I buy from the store in a gallon. I don't use tap water for any of my paints or my canvases. So I sprayed this last night, and I left it lay upside down to dry. What this does is it tightens your canvas before you put liquid paint on it, which is going to make it, in many cases, droop a little bit in the middle, but then I go back in later after it's completely dry, and I'll give it another spritz and let it dry upside down, and that'll tighten it up even further. So I thought today I would use something very cheap and easy to get. This is simply one of these cups with a bottom cut out. And I'm going to place it, I think, here on my canvas. And then I'm going to run some of this black around the outer edge. This looks very thick when I pour it out, but it's deceiving. I don't know why that is, but it is. So the first color I'm going to put in here is white. I'm going to move this over a little bit to make sure that you can see exactly what I'm doing in there. And then I'm going to follow with the colors from dark to light. So the first color in is going to be purple. And I'm just going to pour it in without any rhyme or reason. Next is beautiful blue. I guess I'd call that royal. And again, no rhyme or reason. I'm just going to keep it inside the cup. And then turquoise. Then I'm going to add a little bit of black back in. See if we can get a little bit of lacing going. And then green. Now I'm going to add a little white. And now yellow. Shh. No barking. No, no. No barking. Lucy. Now orange. I don't know if you can see this or not, but the paint is already starting to escape. By the way, this is called a submersion cup. It's where you put your open cup down on the canvas first. And then you surround it with your black or white background color. I like to put a little more white in there because they're getting to the top now. And the idea is to allow the paint to get up and underneath the background color. So I think that's it. I think we're good to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my torch first. I'm going to break some of these bubbles here on the outside. And then I'm going to take my cup and I'm going to let it travel some. See what happens. Let's travel a little bit more. I don't know if you can see it yet, but we've got colored cells within different colored cells going on right now. I know my cup is creating a, turn it, my cup's creating a shadow. But along here, we've got purple and black and green and yellow. See what happens here when we do that. Moving paint over paint, whether you use silicone or not, will create cells, as will Floetrol. You see I'm at the end of my color, so I'm just going to release it out. There you go. You know, I got into the habit of just picking up my torch and just hitting it. But I've ruined one torch already. And I've heard from other artist friends that they end up going to a butane, from a butane torch, which this is, to a propane torch because they break so many of these. So now when I pick it up to use it, I slowly push in to light it. Because usually what breaks inside of there is the little thing that makes the spark, and it's not industrial style. So I'm gonna just move this around a little bit, but there's some pretty cool things happening here, and I'm not one to just move them on off the canvas. So I may be adding some black to the edges. Let's add some along here. It's okay, Lucy, don't cry. I'm going to turn this to work on it. I hope I'm still in your frame. What's the matter, sweetie? Hmm? Let's turn you around one more time. Hope you can see all of that. I think you can. I'm probably gonna waste a lot of this paint over the side, but I'm gonna let you know that when I'm not making a video, I guess is the way I should put it, I usually do them on freezer paper and save the skins for jewelry, or I use an edge catcher. And the reason I won't use an edge catcher in this case is because the paint on here is already so thick that I don't, I do want to lose some of this paint and not throw it back onto the surface. Okay, done there. By the way, I never use gloves unless we're talking about doing resin, which is something I can certainly share with you in the future if you request it. Go too far. No. Okay. I'm going to push that red back on because I like it. See what we can do about that corner. Just love the turquoise and teal and all the colors that have mixed together down there. A little bit of purple, so I don't want to get rid of all of it. Some beautiful yellow popping through, some green and blue and purple in that corner. So if you're wondering how I made those beautiful fat cells in the post I made, I used gouache paints, and my method for pouring was a submerged dirty cup. I have to wipe my hands. I'm not going to be able to do anything else for you. probably hear that crunch, crunch, crunch. That's pretty. This over here looks almost fluorescent. So does this up in here. And there were no fluorescent paints in that set that I got. So pushing slow. The other thing I found out about gouache paints was that it has tons of air bubbles in it. So while I've got a lot of speckles in this because there's white mixed in with everything else, I think the cells are worth it. So here again, I want to remind you that this was a video on using gouache paints from Arteza. I chose 10 including black and white. I had to use a soft gel medium to get them to the proper consistency because they're pretty loose. And the way it's spelled, Gouache, I've heard people say gouache. I've heard them say gouache and many other things, but the proper French pronunciation of these paints is gouache, Gwash, like wash with a G in front of it, gouache. That's the French pronunciation, and I believe that these originated in France. And they've been around forever. They're very old. But I wanted to see what I could do with them in pour painting, and I wanted to show you. So that's the end of my video. I hope you liked it. I hope you come back. Give me some ideas in the comments below on what you would like me to see me do in the future, and I'll see what I can do. And thank you for listening and watching, and I will say goodbye. Kimberly Theodore from Polidora.